Chapter 1952 Sun and Moon Double Dance. The most precious and oldest version of the Holy Scripture of the Junjing Church contains the faith of believers all over the world, and it must be in the hands of the Supreme Pope Alexander X. But even if it is just a replica, it has a powerful power to seal the evil demon. If the cardinal prays in person, he can seal the powerful evil demon. However, the sealing ceremony must be performed by him. Then who will restrain the crow of evil, which has been split several times and has a combat power comparable to that of a senior white bishop. The angel of the sun, Middelin, and the angel of the moon, Serial, looked at each other and then stepped forward. This task naturally fell on them. Gaga. The Crow Legion charged in formation and killed the shield formation of the Knights Templar, and the eyes of the Crow of Evil were fixed on the most powerful human he could sense. Olib was the biggest threat to him. Olib had no intention of attacking him, but put away the holy sword in his hand, slowly opened the Apocalypse, and began to recite. His voice was not loud, but it began to reverberate throughout the space. A strange force began to emerge, causing the Crow of Evil to feel a strong discomfort. It was as if humans had entered an oxygen-deficient environment. An irritable look flashed in his eyes, and he swung the devouring demon spear with all his strength. With only the strength of his body, he raised a huge gust of wind and whistled towards Olib in the distance ahead. The storm was born from the gun, and the strong wind was unstoppable, turning into a sharp spiral of energy. "We won't let you affect the bishop's ceremony." Middelin and Serial actually showed a happy smile on their faces. This was the first time in a long time that they, the Sun and Moon Angels, had joined forces to fight against an enemy. Exorcise the demon. Serial slowly walked forward, with illusory wings slowly unfolding behind him. He chanted the holy words, and the strong sun's light emerged from him, shining on the entire ruins, dyed with a soft and holy platinum color. Middelin was on his right side, slowly pulling out a knight's two-handed sword made of a cross from his waist. Holy light spread over his body. Unlike the gentle Middelin, his light was blazing and sacred, making people feel warm and at ease. Behind Middelin, two white wings slowly spread out, then turned into a hazy shadow and slowly opened. Two wings became four, and then six again, and then more. The legendary angel has 6 wings at the highest. However, the angel of the sun, Middelin, has a full 36 wings. The gorgeous wings spread out behind him, like a white peacock spreading its tail. Very beautiful. At the same time, Middelin's face also changed. There were many more eyes on his face. There were more than a dozen bright pupils on his forehead and below his double pupils, all the way to the position close to his temples. That feeling was not terrifying, but gave people a sense of transparency that could peek into everything in the world. The angel of the sun, Middelin, has the ability Sun-Chasing Holy Light, a supernatural power index of 28,000 points, and a black chariot level. The angel of the moon, Serial, has the ability Kami no Tsukiyomi, a supernatural power index of 27,000 points, and a black chariot level. These two are famous masters in the Junjing Church, second only to the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse. However, their strength is enough to match some of the 4 horsemen. The important thing is them. The Junjing Church discovered very early that the attributes of the aliens are compatible and the restraint relationship between them. The more compatible the supernatural attributes of the 2 aliens are, the more their cooperation can burst out with amazing power. It can even achieve the effect of 1 + 1 n. However, such a combination is difficult to train. First of all, there must be aliens with compatible abilities to practice the combined attack technique together until the tacit understanding between the two can reach a spiritual connection, and there will be no mistakes when the two fight like one person. Second, the strength of the 2 people should be close, so that the 2 can grow together and provide the greatest help to each other. The Sun Angel and the Moon Angel are the only pair of Epsilon-level combined attack masters that the Junjing Church has cultivated so far. If they are separated, they are just ordinary black chariots, but when they join forces, they have the strength to fight even if they encounter a strong man at the level of the Apocalypse Knight. Olib's prayer was neither hurried nor slow, and the Dead Sea Scrolls were slowly turned by him. A strange power was transformed into rules, affecting the ghost territory and ghost walkers in this world. The Crow of Evil was unwilling to endure this trouble anymore. He held the devouring demon spear, and his figure instantly broke through the air. Boom! The super-fast speed caused a strong sonic boom, and his figure also left a lot of afterimages in everyone's pupils. Serial and Midolin's movements were uniform at this time. They raised their swords and soared into the sky like lightning. The light of the sun and the moon reflected each other, and the two of them moved forward in parallel, and soon they met the enemy in the front and back formations. Midolin, holding a cross-handed sword, was standing in front of him, his body burning with the holy light of the sun. Behind him, Serial was suspended in the air. Behind him, a huge moon rose. The moon was high in the sky. It should have been daytime, but it fell into darkness in an instant. In the bright night, the huge full moon cast a silver light over everything. The moon almost occupied the entire sky, and Serial stood in the center of the moon. Silent moon. The moonlight was like a tide, seemingly coming slowly, but it filled the entire space in an instant. The Crow of Evil, who was rushing forward, suddenly felt that his body was trapped in a muddy swamp, and his speed suddenly slowed down. He looked down, and the silver moonlight completely enveloped him like mercury, and he seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds when he moved. Midolin, behind Serial, raised the huge two-handed sword high, and the holy light of the sun burned wildly all over his body, and his arms swelled up. Who? Facing the Crow of Evil, his great sword burst into a magnificent light and chopped down head-on. The sunlight was like fire, like a world-destroying calamity, and it fell fiercely with the posture of a sword. This is the power that can restrain darkness, and it also has the property of suppressing the leader of the Phantom Walk. Although the Crow of Evil was restrained by the moonlight, he still raised the devouring demon spear in his hand. His own strength was strong enough, so he could break free from the restraint of the moonlight and fight back. A shot swept out, colliding with the pressure of the holy sword. In an instant, the two forces annihilated each other, and the storm swept in all directions. On Olib's body, the robe rustled, but he was unaware of it and continued to recite the contents of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Chapter 1953 Sun and Moon Double Dance 2. The Templar Knights and Crow soldiers near the battlefield could not withstand the aftermath of this move and were blown away. In a real battlefield, only the top strong ones are qualified to stand. However, the Sun and Moon Angels had no time to take care of them. They had to suppress the Crow of Evil and then seal it. Otherwise, once the opponent was given the opportunity to split, their troubles would be endless. Sun and Moon, Double Wheel Dance. The silent moon formed a huge moonlight field, and the power like mercury continued to suppress the Crow of Evil. If an ordinary human entered it, the heavy power would be crushed into meat sauce in an instant. Only Midolin was completely unaffected. He rode the wave to kill the Crow of Evil and slashed directly with the great sword in his hand. The power of the scorching sun was unparalleled. There were many eyes on Midolin's face, which allowed him to capture all the movements of the enemy dynamically. Even if the Crow of Evil made only a slight muscle movement, he would see it and predict the opponent's attack route. Accept the judgment of the sun, demon. Midolin roared and rushed forward. The power of the sun poured out instantly, and the sky was full of brilliance, making it difficult to see anything. It seemed that in the sun, there was a sun god expelling the dark demons. The Crow of Evil let out a sharp howl and held the devouring demon spear tightly in his hand. Facing Midolin's round after round of attacks, he resisted with ease. Even though he was restrained by the moonlight, his speed was not at a disadvantage. He swung the spear in his hand very quickly. The eyes on Midolin's face turned at different angles, so his sword could predict in advance where the Crow of Evil's spear would fall. The collision between the great sword and the devouring demon spear was extremely fierce, and the sound of ping-pong shook all directions. The collision of power alone caused an extremely terrifying storm. Serial hung high in the bright moon, raised the gorgeous one-handed sword in his hand, and drew a huge silver hexagram in the air with one stroke. Silver star, holy light, moonlight, skyfall. After the hexagram was carved, it was wrapped with a circle symbolizing the bright moon. After the spell was drawn, it suddenly jumped into the sky. At this time, the center of the battlefield had already been shrouded by a violent storm. The collision of guns and swords, the excessive speed, the collision of too strong power, the disappearance of the scorching sun, and the power of darkness, all caused the wind to sweep the earth and break the earth. Even though the Crow of Evil was under heavy pressure, he still did not fall into a disadvantage because his speed was fast enough and his strength was strong enough. After the two fought again, they separated for a short time. Suddenly, a holy silver light was reflected above the head of the Crow of Evil. When the Crow of Evil looked up, he saw a huge hexagram surrounded by a ring falling towards him. The falling magic circle was too fast, and he had no time to dodge, and was directly covered by it. In an instant, the magic circle expanded under his feet, and a terrifying force that could split mountains and seas squeezed his entire body fiercely. This force dragged the evil crow to the ground and fell rapidly, and the body of the evil crow began to twist and deform. And Middelin didn't need Sullivan's reminder. The moment the magic circle fell from the sky, he raised his sword and slashed it. The evil crow suddenly opened his mouth and let out a shrill howl from his beak. Gaga. His wings spread out like black metal, and his body swelled up. He raised the devouring demon spear again against this force and smashed it towards Middelin fiercely. But this time, his speed was more than doubled than before. Due to the sudden acceleration, Middelin couldn't adapt to it. The original offensive sword hastily turned into defense, and he held the sword tightly with both hands to resist. Bang! The big gun hit the sword heavily, and Middelin was directly blown away. But Middelin was not hurt at all, because the terrifying moonlight was a mercury ocean that caused great pressure to the Crow of Evil, but for Middelin, it was the bright moonlight that gently protected him. Middelin was knocked thousands of meters away, and this force had been buffered by the moonlight along the way. After Middelin adjusted his own state, he rushed towards the Crow of Evil in an instant, without giving him any chance to breathe. Although I don't know if you can differentiate while alive, I will avoid this situation. The 36 wings spread out ostentatiously, with the glorious flames of the sun flowing on them, like a layer of the sun god's bathrobe wrapped around his whole body. Serial raised the long sword in his hand again in the distance, and carved runes in the air. The ancient text was carved in the air by him, accompanied by some mysterious symbols and figures, and he recited the spell at a very fast speed. The glory of the Lord is reflected in the bright moon. Angel of the moon, listen to my call. Use the sacred moonlight as a blade to cut through the demon's illusion. You, the dark ones, the cursed evil spirits, tremble under the gaze of the moonlight. In the endless darkness, the moonlight will become your shackles and your fear. Go away, demons, stay away from this holy place. Never disturb it again. Glory to the Lord. Amen. As his voice fell, the spell was also carved, like a long scroll unfolding in front of him. This power rose between heaven and earth, and then the runes drifted away with the wind, and countless long swords formed by silver moonlight appeared in the space in front of him. The long swords spread across the sky, and the swords turned upside down, aiming at the Crow of Evil in the distance. Destroy! Serial ordered, and thousands of silver moon swords gathered into a rushing river, roaring towards the entire area where the Crow of Evil was. At the same time, Middelin came from another direction, like a sun god, and chopped the giant sword in his hand head-on. The sun and moon dance. The two have both strength and supernatural powers, long range and close combat and full control ability, and they cooperate perfectly. Although they are only two black chariot-level aliens, they can pose a threat to the senior white bishop due to the perfect performance of the combined attack technique. The Crow of Evil does not have a particularly good way to deal with such a situation. He could only bear the pressure of the moonlight domain while resisting the river formed by countless silver moon swords, and then divide his attention to fight with Middelin. The symbol of military power, not having any fear of the enemy, it symbolizes the fearless spirit of the Druk Protoss. But now, the people on the other side don't want him to die, but to seal him before he turns into a large number of super-level evil crows that he can't deal with. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.